Are you ready to master the waves of medical device product development? Well, wax up your surfboard because you are listening to Inspired by Imua. And here is your medical device product development expert, that Hawaiian-hearted hostess who will help you hang 10, Meghan Alonso.
And aloha! You're listening to Inspired by Imua, where we help you master the waves of medical product development. Each week, we interview guests that educate, guide, and inspire to give you and your product the skills you need to hang 10. If this is your first time listening, Imua is spelled I-M-U-A, and it's a Hawaiian word. It means to advance forward with passion despite rough waves. There are plenty of those in medical product development, so keep listening because we've got you covered. So my next guest today, I've known for quite some while, and he has a really cool company that's expanded out into a few branches and just helps people in the life science industry get noticed. So get found, get noticed, get a bunch of awesome PR and help them with their website. So it's definitely a guy you want to have in your back pocket. Oh, and by the way, they have dogs in their office too, and they throw amazing parties. So if you're in the San Diego area, stop by CG Life and talk with Erik Clausen and meet all the labs in the office, and we'll get into what that is. So without any further ado, Erik, are you ready to hang 10?
I sure am. Thanks, Meghan.
All right. So I kind of foreshadowed that. Tell us about all the labs you have in your office.
You bet. Yeah, I think for years, a number of us here at the agency at CG Life are dog owners, dog fans, friends of dogs, I guess you'd call us. And just by coincidence, a lot of us have labs. My lab is named Lucky because she was born on St. Patrick's Day. But a number of us bring our dogs to work from time to time. And as you can imagine, working in the life sciences and everybody owning labs, that's resulted in a lot of laboratory-related puns. So it adds a bit of levity and life to the office every day.
Mm-hmm. And then I gave you a little intro, but give me some background on your personal background and how you ended up in this industry, and then also just kind of the history of CG Life. And you guys went through a rebranding recently, so tell us about that too.
Sure. So, I've been in communications and PR work primarily within life sciences and healthcare for coming up on 20 years. And it's interesting. I kind of stumbled into this space. I have a science degree, but it's in an entirely different field. It's in environmental science. And I was living and working in Boston and going to law school with a grand plan of eventually becoming a lobbyist on environmental issues with a science degree kicker. And I all of a sudden discovered this world of PR and communications and realized that the things that I really wanted to do was to help advance science through communications and in the art of influence. And I could do that through lobbying. I could also do that through PR and communications. So at the time I was working in politics, I was working for a senator in Massachusetts, and realized if I was going to do that for a career, I needed to hone my skills. So I went to the agency side, and where I've been ever since. And very early on, agency side, I really focused on scientific companies and organizations, and primarily life science and healthcare companies, helping them to craft their stories and communicate with the audiences that matter to them. So, I lived and worked in Boston for a while. I've had the good fortune to work in San Francisco as well. And for the past almost 7 years, I've been working in the beautiful city of San Diego, doing the same line of work. So I've been fortunate to work in kind of the major life science clusters during that time.
Yeah, that's great. And I forgot to mention in the intro. So if you guys listened a few episodes back, I went over the survival guide for JP Morgan, and Erik and his team put that together. We were supposed to be podcasting together about this, but for several reasons actually didn't end up happening. So that's why he's on today.
Yeah, well, all too well, JP Morgan gets very, very busy and crazy, but I'm glad we were able to get together and talk today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So give us the history of CG Life.
Sure. So CG Life is a new brand. We have our agency was formed in 2003, and for most of the time since then, we have been Competitive Group. And a lot of folks within the industry know us as Competitive Group. We went through a rebranding to, I guess, more accurately adjust our brand to reflect where the agency is and the industry is today. Going back for much of that time that we've been around doing this, there's been a convergence that's been happening between life science and healthcare as tools and technology companies are now getting much closer to the patient, and their tools and technology, they're becoming clinical tools and technology. Research is not just academic anymore, it's becoming clinical research. And on the other side, we have worked with device companies and diagnostics companies that are squarely in the world of healthcare. And so as this convergence has become more dramatic over, I would say, the last 3 to 5 years, we looked at ourselves and realized we needed to better reflect that. Our roots were in chemistry back in 2003, hence we were called Competitive Group.
And I love it. For you guys listening that aren't familiar with the brand, it's not Competitive Group, COMP, it's Competitive Group, like chemistry, CHEM, competitive. So I love that. It's funny.
Thanks for pointing that out. We love a merged word and a pun around here. We really do. You have to have fun with it. You have to bring life to the work that we do. So today we are CG Life, and we're excited about bringing life to communications and marketing for life science and healthcare.
Good. So that's what you guys do every day. You help lots of clients, big and small. So give me some of your expertise here. What can listeners take away from you if they were to, this is kind of like picking your brain. So anything on strategy or digital marketing, you guys do a lot of content marketing for companies, or just getting PR, maybe help narrowing down what the target audience is, or maybe some mistakes. What can you give our audience today?
Sure. We can work through a lot of those or all of those different topics. I think for starters, one of the things that we've found really exciting is we are a completely integrated marketing communications agency. And because we are focused in the space, that does a couple of things for us. It gives us we have at our disposal really every different tactic or option that you have within the marketing spectrum. So what that enables us to do is really look at what our clients' challenges are and their problems, and then decide of all of the things that we can do, what should we do? It really enables us to do that rather than, if we just delivered one service, well, that might be the solution to every problem. So we like to step back and take a look at the challenge first that we're trying to work through with our client. And from there, define what the right path forward is. So for many of our clients, that first step is trying to decide, okay, where do our customers want us to be? And that means really looking at the customer profile and understanding their needs and the realities of the customer situation. You have to become a little bit empathetic and really look at the customer and decide, what do they want? Then we need to look internally at ourselves and gather, what our thinking is, clarify what our aspirations are, and align those two. And sometimes this is a really painful step. This is even before you're out of the gate in terms of developing a campaign or a strategy. This is objectively accepting who we are today and look at where we want to go. And that's sometimes difficult for organizations. But you have to kind of go through that entire bucket that I just sort of described is market insights. It's understanding the situation around us and your customer, and understand yourself entirely before moving forward. It's kind of like life. You have to objectively look at the world around you and yourself before you can take a step forward, or you might go in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond that, we really, once we've gone through that process, it's about developing the right strategy, staking, market position. So saying, this is who we are going to be with our brand, with all of our content, and better define the audiences that we're trying to reach. So then we can, figure out how best to reach them, and set goals that are measurable to figure out, okay, as we implement this strategy, what does success look like? What are the milestones where we can go, yep, okay, we're moving in the right direction towards influencing or persuading people to think of our brand in a certain way, and then developing the plan to try to achieve those goals. So all of that, simply said, but sometimes not so simply done for organizations. All of that is the pre-work before, you get to roll up your sleeves and do the fun things like, media planning and creative and digital and content and PR and all of the other fun stuff that is the very visible stuff to people.
Mm-hmm. And then, so for those people listening out there, I know some people listening, their target customers are lab user, like they're using equipment in a lab, or sometimes it's I'm selling to the end users, I'm selling to healthcare providers, or I'm selling to, it's an over-the-counter product. So it's selling direct to people that use it at home. They buy it in like a CVS or Walgreens. So are there some differences in how you're delivering your content depending on your client's particular audience like that?
Oh, definitely. And I think that first step is, looking at content marketing, for instance, because that's a really, very active means of marketing today. It's also a very clear.
Well, maybe we should define, I mean, I know what that is, and let's define what exactly we're talking about. Like what is content marketing and why do we need to be doing it?
It's a great question. So content marketing is developing content, and it could be in a lot of different forms. It can even be a podcast. But it's developing interesting content that engages the desired audience to listen and participate in a discussion or consume that content versus being marketed at. So an advertisement, a billboard, is not content marketing because it's awareness building perhaps, but it is not delivering content in the right context for the audience. So the audience in content marketing typically is self-selecting. They're seeking out that content and engaging.
Yeah.
So podcasts are certainly a good example of that. Email newsletters and blogs and places where there's a point of view that's shared, all kind of fall under the umbrella of content marketing. Video is certainly another good example of that. But in developing content marketing for B2B or B2C audiences, if you're trying to reach that researcher in the lab, it's understanding. You first have to go back and understand what their needs are and what their wants are. They may like particular topics. They may like to receive content in a certain way at a certain time. And so being able to go through that and sort of understanding their persona and and again, empathize with what they want, you can shape what you want to say in a way that it's going to be delivered and be meaningful for them, rather than just saying, well, this is our message and this is what we want to say. And so we're going to put it out there and then cross our fingers and hope that somebody comes back to us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Speaking of content marketing, your survival guide episode has had lots of hits. People enjoy consuming that content.
That's great. Well, and again, using that as an example, we listen to our audience. We had, as an agency, we've been going to JP Morgan forever. And so we had a lot of learnings, but people kept asking us for advice. Oh, I'm going to JP Morgan this year for the first time. Where do I go? What do I do? And so people kept asking us, for our recommendations. And we finally said, well, maybe we should put this together in a form that they can use. So we put together the survival guide for JP Morgan.
So my next question, actually, that was an example, because I was going to ask you, tell a story that about content marketing or PR that someone took advantage of and what it did for them. So you clearly spelled that out, but let's tell a story of one of your clients that you've helped, and then how your services made a difference for them.
Oh, sure. There are a lot of different examples I could pull from. I think, one that we've always been very excited and proud about is some work that we did for GlaxoSmithKline, so GSK. And this began a few years back, but GSK came to us with a challenge that was they were really looking for a way to accelerate the process of partnering with academic researchers to be able to look at new therapeutic candidates and be able to, accelerate that process, because that the process of looking at candidates and the process of working through technology transfer with with academic research institutions is a lengthy process. So what we did was we developed a campaign called Discovery Fast Track, and we were working directly with DPAC, Discovery Partnerships and Academia Group within GSK, charged with developing these relationships. And the campaign was really focused on the academic researcher and trying to advance their science. And so it goes back, I guess, to the kind of the concept within research of you either want to succeed or fail quickly.
Yep.
spending years trying to go through discovery doesn't serve anyone. So we wanted to accelerate two things. We wanted to help the researcher accelerate their research. We also wanted to accelerate the process of understanding whether or not it was going to make sense for there to be a partnership in the first place. So Discovery Fast Track was a campaign and essentially a competition that we created first in North America, and then it was extended to Europe for GSK to encourage researchers to submit their entries in a really distilled, succinct application that was in a relatively short period of time. And what it's resulted in, and there were a lot of different components to this. There was certainly public relations involved in this. There was a lot of content marketing. There was a website that had to be built to be able to handle the submission of entries. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of direct marketing and advertising. So this was a very integrated campaign stemming from a creative concept that we developed. But the great thing that we're really proud about is on the other side, there have been candidates that have received DPAC funding and partnerships and candidates that are coming through in the discovery process. And so it's actually generated results, things that might have taken years to get to because of all these, the steps involved. They've been able to get to in a short period of time.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. And it's in their best interest too. I have this new, I know you and I talked about it, this new virtual Pre Accelerator program. So something kind of similar, but mm-hmm. When I launched it as a beta version, I had marketing campaigns out there urging people to apply for, I gave away 10 free scholarships and they had to apply. And so I got these applications back. And what I did is I strategically placed the questions in there because I was gathering information about my persona as I was doing that. And mm-hmm. looking at what they're struggling with. And then I've built the program to answer to that. And the great thing is too, you get, not only does it help you with your business, you get those leads, you have those leads, but you're right. It's also, it really is making a difference in innovation and pushing things forward. And that's the main objective. But then you have all these other perks on the side.
Right. That's fantastic. It's a great program. And to be able to build it in that way and accelerate, engagement, that's great.
Mm-hmm. So that is an amazing example. What are some, or maybe one common mistake that you guys see?
Ooh, I think the most common mistake, and again, this is sort of the flip side of what I talked about before about looking at audience and really doing some of that introspective work before going out to the marketplace. It's not stopping to ask the simplest and sometimes most complex question of all: why? Why are we doing this? And who is it that we're trying to reach, and what do we want them to do? So often organizations are just thinking about, well, we need to have more awareness, we need to have more of this, more of that, we want to be here, there, but it's not tied back to a strategy. There is not thought given to tying it back to what we're actually trying to make happen as an outcome. And so what that results in are a lot of tactics that might feel good in the moment, and you get tactical results, but you don't get strategic results. It's not moving towards a business outcome. And so I would say that is the most common and largest challenge that we run into. And what it ultimately results in are restarts of campaigns, or people invest a lot of resources and they go down the path incorrectly and then have to correct for that. So it can become costly both from a time standpoint and from dollars, our dollars.
Yeah, definitely. So with dollars, you're making me think too. I just was at a conference the other day and we were talking about advertising and social media. And what are your thoughts? Do you guys help people with advertising too? Do you run advertising campaigns?
We do. And in fact, we're pretty proud over the last 2 or 3 years. We've really become more sophisticated with our media planning, strategy, and buying practices. There are a lot of great new tools and technologies available to automate that. And so that's actually a large portion of our business, is helping our clients be able to make smart decisions about where they're buying media, and to make sure, that they're not either competing or cannibalizing their, marketing across different products, or in some cases integrating and negotiating better rates. So that is, that paid media world is certainly part of where we play.
Mm-hmm. And what sections of that do you do? More of the social media advertising, or kind of traditional hey, let's buy you a conference speaking slot or an airing on the radio or TV, like billboards, like you said.
It's a real mix. I think, in B2B life science and healthcare, a majority of what we do from a paid media standpoint tends to be print, online, and social media. There are still some very affordable spots to be able to do paid media, paid advertising or media buys within social media without doing, really buying really expensive keywords on Google. There are, within social media, there's some great media buys. But that tends to be, still traditional print for life science, still very influential, very important. We do some paid and even some earned media spots in terms of conferences. So we might be helping a client pay for the trade show booth or advertisements around the conference or even a paid speaking slot, but also in many cases using their content to earn media coverage in those same publications or earn a speaking spot at a conference. So we try to look at it at CG Life, we try to be very integrated about our approach and look at how we can kind of bring those different approaches together for maximum benefit.
Yeah. So for a big company like GSK, that's media buying is one thing versus a scratchy little startup that is on a shoestring budget. What's a tip for them to help them plan their media buys?
That's a great question. And, even though we do work with some major brands like a GSK or we work with Pfizer or BD or GE, some of these large organizations, right? We also work with startups. We love working with startups because there's so much innovation coming from them. And what we have always maintained is that, the greatest asset that a startup has is speed and flexibility. They can be nimble and they might be in a position where their competitors are larger and can outspend them. But what they have going for them is they can make decisions quickly and move very quickly. And so, if you're looking at a much smaller marketing budget and trying to figure out where the right places for them to dive in, certainly content marketing, building up a database of your core audiences that you're trying to reach. There are some very affordable tools out there for being able to manage your CRM and implementing different CMS systems to be able to manage your content and distribute it effectively. So, the first recommendation I typically make for a startup client is, okay, you need a blog. You need to start developing a content strategy, understanding again who your audience is, but then pick the things that you know about where developing the content will not be difficult because it is what you know and it's what your audience wants to learn about. And then start generating that content. And a blog is typically the easiest and most cost-effective way for a startup to start doing that.
Or you can just cheat like I've done it. And if I'm not an expert, then I interview the experts, and that way I'm covering the topics.
That's okay. You're an expert in some areas, and the next best thing is to know other experts.
Yep. All right. So tell us about your locations. I know you guys have a few locations, and that way it makes it easy for different people to connect with you.
Sure. CG Life started in Chicago, as I said, back in 2003. Since then, we have expanded. We have folks, about 45 people spread across San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, and Boston. So we are in all of the major life science markets. But Chicago, was our roots and is our headquarters today.
Well, good. And then our listeners, I know, are going to want to get in touch with you. What's the best way to do that? And besides that JP Morgan survival guide, since now they have to wait another year to go to JP Morgan, what else can they get from you guys?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with us is visit cglife.com, where you can follow a lot of the content that we put out, typically daily, where we're trying to share a lot of these insights and how, trying to produce useful content that our customers in the industry in life science and healthcare can use it to do for themselves, or in some cases come to us for advice. We also attend a lot of the major conferences, and as you mentioned earlier, we love to throw events and parties. So that's probably the best way to get to know us is to attend one of our events. But visit cglife.com and follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter.
All right. Yeah. And by the parties, I meant, at least I've been to the ones in San Diego. They have a great facility with these roll-up doors. And so it's kind of like an indoor-outdoor party, all different kinds of games, got cornhole and bocce ball and lots of tasty food and some adult beverages. So next time, keep in touch with them. So maybe get on their newsletter. So that way, you know when these fun events are happening, and we'll see you there.
That's great. And hope to see you, Megan, at our next event.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll make it back in town for that. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Megan. I appreciate it.
Guys, thanks for listening. I hope you take away some great points with that and know that you don't need a huge budget to get started with marketing. A lot of it is just finding your audience, connecting with people, whether it's in person or online, and giving them some information that's really relevant to them. So they're going to start paying attention to you. If you are interested, if you're working on your own medical device, earlier I mentioned that I have my Pre Accelerator program called Invention Idea to Profitable Product. So you can check that out. The easiest way to find out information on that is to text the word invention to the number 44222. So if you get out your phone, just type in 44222, and then just like you were texting me something, just text the word invention, or you can check out the info back on imua-services.com. So till the next episode, Imua.
Mahalo for joining us. If you're new to riding the waves of medical device product development, or if you've been in development for a while already, Inspired by Imua is here to surf with you. Want to be a master of the waves? Text HANG10, that's HANGTEN, to 44222. We'll send you the most common wipeouts companies make in product development so you can avoid them and reach master wave status. Again, that's HANG10 to 44222. We publish a new episode every Tuesday, so catch us at inspiredbyimua.com. Imua!